Welcome back. Tonight in the Hot Box, it's our Friday roundtable. Here with me live in studio, the co-owner of High Plains Reader, John Strand, and live from Minot, we've got Rob Port, the editor of Say Anything blog. To both of you, thanks for being with me this evening. I want to start with you, John. I want to talk about priorities here about this legislative session that's coming up. I think it's going to be one of the most intense legislative sessions probably in the history of the state. All kinds of money flying into the coffers. If you had the magic wand, if you were king for a day, what should be the #1 priority or focus for this legislative session?
There's no doubt about it. What the #1 priority needs to be is the people of North Dakota. You know, wherever we look, I mean, it's not big oil and it's not all these outside interests. It's the people and the culture and the safety of our people. We have legislators traveling from Arizona. They're not even living in their own districts. We have people that are moving out of their homes, moving out of where generations of their families have been. They can't even stay there anymore because they're not safe and don't feel comfortable. We've unleashed a tsunami on the state. They have to manage this oil boom responsibly, learn from others, avoid mistakes that others have learned to avoid, and we need to take care of the people, protect the people.
But in the governor's defense, he is allocated resource, I think it's for 13 or 15 more highway patrol officers, so he is going down that path. Is he doing enough in your opinion?
Well, but what do we do, long-term or short-term? Yes, we need law enforcement, we need health care, we need schools, we need hospitals, but we need a sustainable long-term approach. This is a one-time harvest. Alaska, as an example, we can look at their oil pipeline is down to half capacity now. They were at something like 20% of the providing of oil to the U.S. You know, we're providing 5% now to the country, something like that. We need to get a handle on this and just take things one at a time. There's no hurry. We can learn from Norway. We can learn from Alaska. We can learn from lots of people we can learn from, and we can lead the way.
Rob, I want to go with you. Again, if you were king for a day, Rob, let's talk about top priorities, main focus for this upcoming legislative session. You would say what?
I think it's got to be tax relief. And I actually agree with Mr. Strand that we got to take care of the people. I would say take care of the people by letting them keep more of their own money. And let's not just forget, I mean, if we want to talk about the oil industry or what have you, you know, sometimes these attacks on the oil industry, we got to remember the oil industry employs a lot of North Dakotans. There's a lot of not necessarily oil industry businesses, but businesses around the oil industry that provide services to the oil industry, businesses that are doing very well because of the oil activity, that are North Dakota businesses as well and owned by North Dakotans. North Dakotans work there. The oil boom is North Dakota. I don't think we should treat it like this external thing. And to say that there's been this tidal wave unleashed on North Dakota, as somebody who actually lives in Western North Dakota, listen, Western North Dakota was dying before the oil boom. These communities were shrinking. We were spending all this money on economic development, trying to figure out how we were going to make them grow again. And I mean, the oil boom's done it. People are moving back to North Dakota. And yeah, there's challenges. We need more cops. We need more highway patrol. We need more infrastructure. We're going to do those things. And we're spending the money to do those things. I think the most dangerous thing we could do is to get carried away.
The other thing we definitely need more from the way it sounds is either more tax relief and or daycare centers. I had Governor Dalrymple on the show Tuesday, and I asked him about this daycare center. I'll call it a debacle in this state. And I asked him 3 times, what are you going to do to solve this problem? I kept waiting for him to say, Chris, we're going to give tax relief or some sort of incentive so that if parents choose to stay home, they've got that choice. He never went down that path. John, I want to get your thoughts on how do you solve this daycare problem? Because he was like, Chris, we're just going to continue to expand the daycares.
Well, it's the nuclear family. The family unit. We need to support families and everything it takes, and not just daycares, but senior citizens and people with other challenges in life, whether it's autism or educational challenges or health challenges, all these kids with psychopathic disorders and manias and things like that. You know, it's take care of the family. If it means shifting a little of our funding and supporting family members to take care of family members.
So what do you mean by that? Tax credits or some sort of tax break, or what do you mean specifically?
Anything and everything, all of the above. Tax breaks, start paying them. Rather than paying a nursing home $6,000 to $6,000 in North Dakota, $20,000 in California per month, you know, maybe we can pay a family member.
I had a gentleman
or daycare, hire a family member instead of the mom having to go out, or dad working for minimum wage sometimes.
Gentleman here in the studio says that he actually spends $26,000 a year on daycare resources. I want to move on to gun control laws because we know that's coming down the pipeline. We saw Vice President Joe Biden talk about an executive order possibly from the president to start to move in this direction. Rob, I want to start with you. Gun laws, stopping violence in America. Are gun laws going to make a difference?
I think it depends on what gun laws you're talking about. But generally, what's been talked about most assault weapons bans, things like that. Listen, gun ownership has proliferated in the United States. I think we've all heard the jokes about the wanting to name President Obama as their number one salesman of the year or what have you, because gun sales have spiked during his administration. We've also seen that the states have liberalized their gun laws. More states are moving to make it easier to get concealed carry permits and things like that. As that's happened, America has become a less violent country. We've seen fewer gun crimes. We've seen fewer murders. America is not as violent as it used to be. We're still, in terms of violence, we're not nearly as bad as we used to be. And also, I mean, if we want to talk about mass violence specifically, mass shootings, that's peaked in 1929, which is perhaps not coincidentally the Prohibition era, gun wars. In fact, 1929 was the year of the Valentine's Day Massacre in Al Capone. So I think as we have this debate, if we're going to talk about gun control laws, we should talk about whether or not we actually work instead of assuming that they work.
The one thing that I see is that you have the situation in Sandy Hook, and everybody starts to take sort of this freak out mode. Let's just do something. This may not be the best analogy. I'm not comparing Sandy Hook to this, but what I mean is that you see politicians, when there's an emergency, they say, hey, let's just do something to make us feel better about ourselves. I look at sometimes this diversion. This diversion project is something where we had some bad floods and people go, we got to just do something, not thinking long term. My question to you is, I don't hear anybody really talking about empirical evidence. Where is the evidence to demonstrate that, hey, let's just use that to solve this problem?
I encourage folks to go pick up the High Plains Reader this week and read Ed Raymond's column. Truly, it's cogent and it's coherent and it's salient, and it's really relative. It's relevant to what we're talking about. I don't agree that gun violence is dropping. For goodness sakes, we have 32 murders a day in the U.S. We have 55 who are injured or accidentally or suicides. We have 195 who are injured per day. Japan has 8 per year. And we can learn from Japan. Ed Raymond will tell you lots of things we can do.
Pull the guns out of people's hands.
Well, no, you do, like what Japan does. In order to get a permit, first you have to attend an all-day class. Then you have to go do a written test. Then you have to do a shooting test. Then you go to a psychiatric hospital for an evaluation and drug test. And then you go on and get your permit. We have people buying 10,000 rounds on the internet, no questions asked. We have people that are mentally ill and or on antidepressants, or a lot of these shootings, you know, are people who they've just jacked up their Paxil or their Prozac, and or they've just dropped it down and they're going through withdrawal. These are huge issues. We don't need large magazines. We don't need 100 gun bullets. I grew up with guns. My whole family's with guns.
This continues to be a heated debate. We got to wrap
Last thing I'm
things
going
up.
to say is people who have guns, lock them up and be responsible like we were when we grew up. Don't let the kids near them.
John, thanks for being with us tonight. Again, John Strand, co-owner of High Plains Reader. Also, Rob Port, thank you so much. The editor of SayAnythingBlog.com. Stay close. Coming back, it's our special Feel Good Friday segment. The biggest baby shower in the entire Red River Valley is taking place. We're going to tell you all about it next. And as always, please join our conversation. Let us know your thoughts on what is the top priority for this upcoming legislative session in your opinion. Go to 630POV.com.